I'm retired. I'm 29 years old and I'm retired. I never have to work again because I have multiple income streams paying me six figures that I literally don't have to work for.
Howdy. Welcome back to Dion Talk. A lot of times I hear people say that they can't invest because their market is too hot or they live in a high cost of living area. And I understand prices have gone up. Most people aren't tracking that rents have gone up and rates have gone down. So it's still possible to buy. But I have the mindset that I think it would be really hard to invest in San Diego, San Francisco, or Seattle. So I have a friend who I've invited on, whose information on YouTube is priceless. And I actually am going to be using some of his strategies going forward in my real estate investing. My goal is to help the average individual learn that you can reach financial freedom and make work completely optional in 10 years or less, even if you're not starting from the best position. Todd did this in Seattle, in one of the hottest markets, where the prices to me are astronomical. So Todd, if you could take just a few minutes and tell us what started your story in investing and what was the timeline? What did it look like to where you made work completely optional?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on. I am a huge fan of all your content. I watch your videos, so it's an honor to be here. So thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate it. So I have one of the oldest stories in the book. I grew up poor and I decided at a very young age that I wanted something different for my family. And so I was sort of on that one track mind since the time I was 12 years old. And if we sort of look at the chronological timeline of when I got into real estate, I bought my first property when I was 23 years old. It was December of 2015. And I did everything that people tell you to not do when you buy real estate. So I bought a house with my girlfriend. We weren't even married at the time. We are married now, so that we're no longer living in sin or whatever they say. But so I bought a house with my girlfriend. We used a first-time home buyer program where we put 3.5% down. And we bought a pretty expensive property for only being 23 years old. It was $506,000. But because of that first-time home buyer program, I only had to put $19,000 down. Well, my girlfriend and I, we decided to occupy the master bedroom of this house and rent out the additional 5 bedrooms. This was a 6-bedroom, 4-bathroom house. So right away, we were living completely for free in a house that we owned, which was just absolutely mind-blowing that we could own our own home and not pay anything to live there. And that was mortgage, taxes, insurance, maintenance expenses, right? Like all the stuff was covered by our roommates. And we rented it out so quickly that we figured out that there's a business to this, right? Because we are in Seattle. It is an expensive area. There are so many people who are strapped with student loan debt, or they have, an entry-level job or whatever it is, and they don't want to go spend $2,000 a month for a studio in Green Lake or whatever, right? They'd rather spend $800 or $900 a month for a bedroom. So I think it was 9 months after purchasing our first house, we were able to buy our second house because we saved so much money from not having a rent or mortgage payment. Again, it was covered. And that was another 6-bedroom house. I posted an ad. All 6 bedrooms were leased out within, I think, 5 days. And with that house, after all the expenses, we were cash flowing $2,000 per month on just one single family home. And the rent estimate on Redfin or Zillow for that house, it total was around $2,600, but we were making $6,000 a month because we were leasing out each individual bedroom, and our cash flow was $2,000, even though the rent estimate was only $2,600. And we pretty much kept doing that. We bought house after house, and over maybe about a 4-year period, we had 6 single family homes. Actually, I apologize, 5 single family homes and 1 duplex. But each property was rented out by the bedroom. Even the duplex, when we first moved in here, we had roommates on our half of the duplex. And then we leased out the other half on Airbnb, actually. But yeah, the by the bedroom rent, it is a little bit more work. It's not as passive as what you do. You have a brilliant strategy making it passive. That strategy, it would be hard to pull off in Seattle where the mortgage is just so much higher. And Tacoma is actually pretty high too, compared to places in the Midwest. But I can't imagine buying a single family home in Seattle or LA and in New York without doing it by the bedroom. I just don't think it would pencil, because at the end of the day, I'm a cash flow investor. more than an appreciation investor. Although appreciation is pretty sexy too. But yeah, I mean, so fast forward, got 6 properties, $40,000 a month in rent, well over 6 figures in profit from that rent off of just 6 single family homes. 5 single family homes, 1 duplex. I keep saying that, but off of 6 homes, 6 figures in profit. And it took me 4 years to do. And I crossed the multimillionaire net worth mark when I was, I believe, 26. I'm 29 now. And I'm retired. I'm 29 years old and I'm retired. I never have to work again because I have multiple income streams paying me 6 figures that I literally don't have to work for. So I know that was a very long-winded response, but I hope that was what you were looking for.
No, there's so much information there that I would like to kind of pick into a couple of pieces. Mm-hmm. The first is, if anybody's listening, both of us reach financial freedom. House hacking, which I call the cheat code to wealth. Like it's literally the cheat code to wealth. You enter these numbers in and you become wealthy almost with a certainty. And someday I'm probably going to stop house hacking.
But not today.
There's this thing I like to refer to called the real estate X factor. So there's an XY axis, 2 lines that go up and down. The more risk you are willing to take, the more reward, the more return you can get, but there's more risk. And the other XY axis is the more work you are willing to do, the more money you will make. And the way I usually break it down, and I should probably make a video on this, is at the top is what you're doing. Self-managing, by the room rentals, short-term Airbnb, that kind of stuff. Then down here, you have property management for short-term rentals. Then you have self-managing long-term rentals, property management with long-term rentals, REITs, syndication. So the less work you're going to do, the less return you're going to get, the more risk you're going to take. So renting out by the rooms and self-managing is the way to make the most money. And you're killing it. So this is one of the reasons why I was hoping you would come on here and share your information with everybody. There's a couple of things I want to help clarify. One of the things that makes my system work for me, because even though I could retire since 2018, I could have retired. I'm still working. I still run a business. I still have 3 kids. They're over 18, and you think that would mean they take less time, but that's not true. You're self-managing. What systems do you have in place to help limit tenant turnover? Because I've found as an investor, that's usually the largest expense. So can you tell me some of the systems you have in place for self-managing those by the room?
Absolutely. And I will say this too. So I have never missed a month's rent across any room at any property. I've literally never had a vacancy. That's not to say people don't move out. I just get people in the next tenant in right away. So never missed a month's rent, never even missed a day's rent. So I do a couple of things. First, I advertise everywhere. I'm a big believer in social media advertising, not to get it confused with like paid Facebook ads. That's not what I do, but just posting in Facebook housing groups. So wherever your city is, wherever you're going to be investing, there are housing groups in your city. I guarantee it. It's everywhere. So there's like Seattle housing groups, and there's 7 of them. I'm in all of them, and I post my rooms for rent in all of those groups. Another place that I go to is there's a website called Roomie, and it's specifically for finding roommates. There's also an app that I was using called RentHoop, which is like Tinder, but for finding a roommate. Like you literally swipe right on a match you'd want to room with. So I'm on all those places. So it's very present. Like I'm there, like I'm in your face sort of with my ads, which is, I think is a good thing. The second thing that I do is that when a lease is coming up for rent, I actually reach out to that tenant 60 days in advance. And I say, hey, in 2 months, your lease is expiring. Let me know if you would like to stay in the house or if you plan on moving out at the end of 2 months. And I personally, I never raise rent on a tenant. Part of the reason I can sort of get away with not raising rent is I'm already making 3x of what the market rent is because it's by the bedroom. So I don't have to raise the rent every year to keep up with that because I'm already making way more than market rent per the house, right? And to the tenants, they're like, oh, sweet, no rent increase. Most people stay. But if they move out, they usually know within 2 months. And although technically, legally speaking, they don't have to tell me until 20 days written notice or whatever it is in the state of Washington. And if you're watching this from outside of the state, your state could be different. So just, know that. I think if you're reasonable and upfront with people, just like you are, you're very transparent with your tenants, they're willing to work with you. So most people tell me within 60 days, like, oh yeah, I'm going to resign in 2 months. Can we do that now? Can you send the lease over today and I'll sign it this afternoon? So I get a lease locked in 2 months before it's even renewing. Or they say, actually, yes, I will be moving out in 2 months. And then I have 60 days to find the next tenant, instead of 20 days, which is part of the reason why I've never had a vacancy. And also I've had plenty of referrals. Young people that are renting a room that they know, like, hey, I've got a house cleaner. It's all included. All the utilities are there. You just pay one price. The rent never goes up. They tell their friends. And I have had so many people refer tenants to me. I do offer a referral bonus of like $100. If you send someone to me that signs a lease, I give you $100, which is nothing, especially when you can rent out a room for $1,000 for 12 months or whatever. And that's just great. And then I actually have had a few boomerangs. I kind of coined that term when there's someone renting a room from me. They do it for about a year. Then they're like, oh, I don't want roommates anymore. They move out. They go see what it's like renting an apartment in Seattle. And 6 months to a year, maybe they call me back and say, okay, Todd, do you have any more rooms? Because I'm coming back. So I've had a lot of people come back. I've had a lot of referrals, and then just being very proactive with my marketing, which is, again, another very long-winded response. But I get excited and passionate about this. I could talk all day about it.
No, I don't think you're being long-winded at all. I have the same problem. I try to get my videos around 10 minutes, but there's so much information in real estate that somebody watching right now is thinking, okay, renting by the room, that's too much work. $40,000 a month in rent rolls. How much work are people doing in a 40-hour work week to make your boss rich? You're not working 40 hours a week at this. I can't imagine. No, right.
Oh.
My first year, I felt like I was doing that. And if I take out my first year, my numbers sound almost like yours. Never had a vacancy. My longest tenant turnover took 4 days, and even that amount was covered by the previous tenant, but I had 4 days with them gone to get it ready for the next one. Word of mouth. Most of my tenants refer me the people. I've got a list of people waiting for the next place to open. Mm-hmm. I don't use the social media places to advertise, but I took a note, and I'm going to add that to what I do. But I don't really have that many places open. The really key takeaway here for most people is 6 properties. I have almost exactly the same number of properties, and work is completely optional. It doesn't take hundreds of units. It doesn't take whatever, the Grant Cardone numbers to make work optional. It just takes buying a property once every year or every other year. And within 10 years, you make work completely optional. And strategies like yours are phenomenal. And I think if I incorporated that, my timeline would have been a lot shorter and a lot more profitable. If somebody has questions and they want to reach out to ask you directly, how can they get a hold of you?
Absolutely. If you want to get in contact with me, the best way is through Instagram, and my handle is @ToddJBaldwin. So if you ask me questions on there, I'm pretty good about responding within a timely manner. And then if you just want to see like videos on real estate that I've done, I'm on YouTube. Just Todd Baldwin, just type in my name. I come right up. And that's pretty much how to do it.
Awesome. Well, I can't thank you enough for coming on here. The really great thing about real estate is there is no right way, but there is a right way for you. So somebody watching right now, your strategy is their right way. So I'm super happy that you kind of come on here and share that information.
Awesome.
Until my next video, thanks for coming to my Dion Talk.
We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service at this time.